Most people believe the world belongs to the loudest voice in the room. They think that if you shout long enough, hard enough, and to enough people, the universe will finally hand you what you demand. But that is not how true achievement unfolds. In every century, in every industry, in every human endeavor, the real builders, the men and women who shape the future, move differently. They are not loud, they are not rushed, they are not desperate. Instead, they are quietly relentless. They do not seek applause at every step. They do not need constant validation. Their power lies in a quiet mind, a clear goal, and the unwavering discipline to keep going no matter who watches, no matter how long it takes. The truth is, we live in a world addicted to noise. Social media, news headlines, flashing signs, talking heads, all competing for your attention. But here's what few understand. Attention is not achievement. Noise is not progress. The people you admire, the successful entrepreneur, the brilliant artist, the wise leader, aren't successful because they were the loudest. They are successful because they focused when others were distracted. They worked while others watched. They planned when others guessed. They did not need to announce their mission because they were too busy executing it. And that brings us to this moment, this quiet moment between you and me. If you find value in clarity, in strength, in the timeless truth of purpose, then I encourage you to like this video and subscribe. Because here, we don't chase trends, we build foundations. Winners understand one of the oldest principles known to man, that success does not favor the loud, but the consistent. And consistency is not glamorous. It is quiet, it is private, and it is often invisible. You won't see it trending. You won't find it at parties. But you will always find it behind the curtain of greatness. A pianist's hands blistered and raw after hours of practice. A salesman rehearsing his pitch 100 times in front of a mirror. A single mother reading late into the night to finish her degree. This is what relentless effort looks like. It's not applause, it's repetition. It's not celebration, it's correction. It's not fireworks, it's faith. Now here's something worth writing down. The world yields quietly to the man who persists silently. That is a law, not an opinion, not a suggestion. A law. And here's what I want you to do. If you accept this law, if you understand that the game belongs to the one who endures, not the one who explodes, then I want you to comment the following words. I am quietly relentless, unseen, unstoppable. You see, the most dangerous man in the room is the one who has no need to speak. He has already made up his mind. The outcome is already inevitable. And whether it takes 5 days or 5 years, he will walk quietly in the direction of his goal until one day the world simply yields. There's a strange kind of magic that happens when a person stops announcing their moves. When a person trades commentary for commitment. When you no longer seek to prove your worth to others, but only to yourself. You become light, unburdened. Your energy becomes focused, no longer scattered across 1,000 conversations, comparisons, or complaints. It is concentrated like sunlight through a magnifying glass. And this is the difference between average and excellent. The average man spreads his attention thin, jumping from one project to another, from one opinion to the next, from one dopamine hit to another. The excellent man disciplines his attention like a monk with his prayer, like a soldier with his weapon. He understands that whatever you feed with your focus will grow. Now let's address the lie that's been sold to the masses, that success is about speed. It's not. It never has been. In nature, the most enduring things grow slowly. A tree does not shout itself into existence, it roots deep before it rises high. And so it must be with you. Before the world sees the visible fruits of your labor, you must spend time growing invisible roots, discipline, belief, resilience. These are the traits that do not show up in selfies or status updates. But they are the traits that allow you to outlast, outperform, and outgrow those who merely look the part. So the next time someone tells you to hustle harder, I want you to remember this. Speed is nothing without direction, and energy is wasted without vision. You've heard me say it before, and I'll say it again. You become what you think about. But let's go a step further. You also become what you return to. That means your habits are your destiny, not your dreams, not your feelings, not even your intentions. What you do daily determines what you become permanently. The man who returns to his vision every morning, who revisits his standards, who refines his craft without applause or recognition, that man is writing a future most people will call lucky. There is no luck. There is only law. As you sow, so shall you reap. And so I ask you, What are you sowing in secret? What are you watering when no one is looking? Are you feeding distraction or devotion? Are you drifting or are you drilling? The quiet man drills. He drills with his time, his thoughts, his routines, until he creates a tunnel so precise, not even fear can fit through it. That tunnel leads to mastery. And mastery is not talent. It is not charisma. It is not popularity. It is quiet repetition, quiet standards, quiet sacrifice. And one day, when the work is done and the result speaks for itself, people will call him gifted. But he'll know better. He'll know it wasn't magic. It was movement. Tiny, consistent, invisible movement that they never saw, but that he never stopped. And here's where the real power lies. When you stop trying to prove yourself to others, your energy returns to you. You begin to live for the mission, not the reaction. Your life becomes simpler, sharper, more sacred. You stop chasing and you start choosing. You start choosing what matters. You choose discipline over distraction, purpose over performance, vision over visibility. You begin to embody a kind of sacred solitude, the place where the deepest roots grow. And in that place you'll discover what few ever find. Peace, not because life is easy, but because your direction is clear. Let me leave you with this for today. There is no greater force than a man with a silent plan, no storm louder than his discipline, no doubt stronger than his consistency. You do not need a crowd to become great. You need a cause. You need a compass. And you need the quiet courage to walk alone, even when the world forgets your name. Because in time, the results will speak louder than you ever could. Stay quiet. Stay relentless. You are already becoming everything they will one day admire. Say it with me now and write it in the comments. I am quietly relentless, unseen, unstoppable, and mean it. You see, the world rarely teaches us the real game. It hands us noise, distractions, and pre-written scripts. Go to school, get a job, fit in, be normal. But winners do not fit in. They stand apart, not because they shout louder, but because they walk straighter. They are internally anchored. Their lives are not built on trends. They are built on truths. And one of the greatest truths ever discovered is this: external chaos does not determine internal control. The man who masters himself, his reactions, his thoughts, and his behaviors, he becomes untouchable. The storm can rage, the markets can fall, the critics can scream, but his course remains unchanged. And that is what makes him dangerous. If you've ever felt like you were walking alone, I want to tell you something. That's not weakness, that's power. Most people will never understand your quiet standards, your early mornings, your refusal to gossip, your invisible discipline. They will call it obsession. They will call it selfish. But it is none of those things. It is sacred. You are doing what few dare to do. You are building a life instead of renting one. You are preparing your foundation while others are still decorating their facades. And that takes courage, it takes patience, and above all, it takes relentless inner control. Winners don't broadcast their goals, they embody them. They don't shout their intentions, they live them. And here is where most people get it wrong. They wait to feel ready, they wait to feel confident. But winners don't wait, they begin. They start scared, they move uncertain, they walk through the fog with only a lamp in their hand, but they walk anyway. And it's in that walking, that movement, that momentum begins to build. Confidence isn't a prerequisite, it's a result. And action is the spark that ignites it. So don't wait for your environment to get quiet. You get quiet, don't wait for others to believe in you. You believe. The decision to move forward does not come from applause. It comes from alignment. Alignment with your purpose, with your calling, with the voice that whispers, keep going. Now let me share something with you that has guided countless lives to fulfillment and clarity. The disciplined mind becomes the master key to all doors. Write that down. And if you believe it, if you understand that the internal precedes the external, then I want you to comment. My mind is my fortress. My focus is my power. Because once your mind is mastered, everything else becomes secondary. Opportunities appear where there were only obstacles. Patterns reveal themselves where there once was chaos. You begin to see clearly, choose wisely, and act decisively. That is not arrogance. That is alignment. I want you to think of a craftsman. He doesn't rush, he doesn't scream, he works quietly with precision. Every movement intentional, every cut deliberate. That is how winners approach life. Like craftsmen, They shape their hours with care. They structure their days with clarity. They do not stumble through time, they sculpt it. And the result? A life of design, not default. While others react to the day, the winner commands it. While others drown in urgency, he floats on purpose. There is nothing mystical about this. It is simply structure. It is simply order applied to energy, and structure, like a dam, channels force into focus. We are living in a time where speed is praised, but depth is ignored. Everyone wants results, but few want roots. But I will tell you this, roots are what keep you from falling. Roots are what feed your strength when the seasons turn cold. And how do you grow roots? You commit, you stay, you endure, even when it's uncomfortable, especially when it's uncomfortable, because it's in the discomfort that you are shaped. That is the soil of transformation, not praise, not ease, but pressure. And the winner welcomes pressure because he knows pressure forms power. It forces clarity. It burns away the unnecessary and leaves behind only the essential. One of the greatest mistakes people make is chasing too many things. A little bit of this, a little bit of that, hoping one of them will stick. But mastery does not come from multitasking. It comes from monomaniacal focus, a single aim, a single mission. The man who sharpens one sword becomes the master swordsman. The man who collects 100 dull blades becomes the forgotten amateur. Decide who you are, what you want, and what you are willing to endure to earn it. Because the moment you decide, distractions lose their power, temptations become laughable, and every step you take reinforces your identity instead of eroding it. Let me speak to those who are growing tired, the ones who've been quiet for too long and wonder if it's working. I see you, I understand the silence. But hear me now, the seed does not doubt the harvest. The tree does not question its roots. The process may be slow, but the results are certain. You are not being punished, you are being prepared. And while others chase shortcuts, you are building strength. One layer at a time, 1 hour at a time, one decision at a time. And when the time is right, the world will not need a press release to notice you. Your excellence will be impossible to ignore. Every day you delay the mission. You strengthen the excuses. And the longer you let fear write your script, the harder it becomes to find your voice. But here's the truth. You don't need permission to begin. You don't need a crowd to validate your purpose. You only need to start today, right now, with what you have. Because power does not come from having everything figured out. Power comes from moving while others freeze, from believing while others doubt, from staying the course while others quit. That's what makes you different. That's what makes you quietly relentless. So let me challenge you to repeat this out loud and write it below if you mean it. My mind is my fortress. My focus is my power. This is not a phrase, it is a law. One that will unlock more doors than talent, luck, or connections ever could. Guard your thoughts, refine your habits, and above all, keep moving forward. You are not behind. You are not lost. You are simply early. And early is where winners live. Quietly, relentlessly, on purpose. There is a third secret, ancient, quiet, often overlooked, that governs all sustainable achievement. It's this: success flows to those who give more than they take. Not occasionally, not when it's convenient, but always, consistently, without keeping score. We live in a world wired around exchange. You breathe in, you must breathe out. You speak, then you listen. You sow, then you reap. This law of reciprocity is not some poetic principle. It is the structure behind every economy, every healthy relationship, every great career. And those who understand this, who live by it, who make it part of their identity, they become magnets for opportunity. Why? Because they do what few others do. They give, they serve, they contribute without hesitation. And in doing so, they become valuable. The world rewards value. Not need, not noise, not effort, value. And you become valuable the moment you make service your foundation. You can look at any industry, any corner of the economy, and you will find the same pattern. The top 5% are those who have figured out how to serve more people more effectively, with more clarity and consistency. They're not necessarily smarter, they're not luckier, they're just aligned with the law. They understand that compensation follows contribution. And contribution begins with a question. Not what can I get, but what can I give? What can I offer today that will make someone else's life easier, better, clearer, or stronger? That question is power. It shifts you out of scarcity and into abundance, out of complaint and into creativity. Because the moment you focus on giving, you stop waiting. You stop needing permission, you stop waiting for the world to hand you something and begin handing the world something of yourself. But here's where most people fail. They give for a day, they serve for a week, and when the results don't come instantly, they stop. They say, see, it doesn't work, but it does work. It always works. The problem is not the law, it's the impatience. The farmer doesn't dig up the seed every day to check if it's growing. He plants, he waters, he waits, because he understands the timeline of nature. You must do the same. Serve with faith, give with no strings, and trust that the harvest is coming, because it is, but only for the few who continue to give long after others have stopped. Only for those who have made contribution a part of who they are, not something they do when convenient. Let's talk specifically now. If you want more income, the path is simple. Serve more, sell more clearly, solve more problems, be the person your company, your clients, your community can count on. Not once, not when asked, but as a standard, as your default, as your identity. And you will rise, slowly at first, then all at once, because the market is not biased, it is responsive. It moves toward value the same way plants move toward sunlight. So don't ask, why am I not being paid more? Ask instead, where can I increase my value? And don't just ask it once, ask it daily, and act on the answers. Because money is not the root of success. Money is the echo of service. Let me give you an image. Imagine a man standing before a stove saying, "Give me heat, and then I'll add the wood." Sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? But that's how most people approach life. They wait for success before they commit to excellence. They wait for applause before they master their craft. They wait for rewards before they serve. But the world doesn't work that way. First the wood, then the fire. First the service, then the reward. That's the order, and it will not change for anyone. You want to be rare? Flip your mindset. Say to yourself, I will bring the wood. I will bring the fire. I will become valuable, whether anyone is watching or not. And then do it, every day. Because the moment you build your life around giving, everything changes. Your energy changes, your sense of meaning deepens, your confidence strengthens, not because of praise, but because you know you're useful. And usefulness is the root of self-worth. We were not made to consume, we were made to contribute. And contribution is what will separate you from the average man. The average man waits to be served. The great man looks for where he can serve more. The average man sees labor as a burden. The great man sees it as his path to power. And once you learn to love the process of giving, you become unstoppable. I want you to understand this clearly. You are not meant to be average. You are not meant to just get by, to merely survive, to exist in the gray. You were made to shine, but light comes from energy, and energy comes from purpose. And purpose is found through service, not through comfort, not through getting, but through giving. Ask the great leaders, the inventors, the thinkers, the builders, they will all tell you the same thing. They did not rise by focusing on themselves. They rose by focusing on a problem they could solve, a need they could meet, a person they could serve, and in doing so they became irreplaceable. So I ask you now, claim this law, plant it deep in your mind, write it below, speak it aloud, carry it with you. I give more than I take. My value is undeniable. My service creates my success. This is not just a quote, it is a law. The more you give, the more you grow. The more you serve, the more you rise. And the more problems you solve, the more prosperity will chase you down. Not the other way around. You are not here to chase, you are here to build. And you build through service. In the next part, I'm going to show you how to combine this law of service with another timeless principle, the one that separates scattered effort from strategic force. We'll explore how to lock in your direction so tightly that the world begins to conspire on your behalf. But for now, carry this truth with you. Every moment you spend giving is a moment your future self will thank you for. And every person you lift, every problem you solve, every act of quiet excellence you deliver, it all counts, it all compounds, it all returns. That is the law, and it will not fail you. There is a fourth principle, a force that turns clarity into momentum, and momentum into mastery. That force is focus. The world today rewards distraction. It praises the man who multitasks, who dabbles in many things, who spreads himself wide. But history remembers the man who chose one mission, who devoted himself so completely to a singular outcome that he bent reality to meet it. In a time when everyone is moving quickly in all directions, true focus becomes not just rare, it becomes power. And the man who understands this principle gains an almost unfair advantage in life. Because he is not scattered, he is precise, he is deliberate. He knows exactly what he wants, and he moves toward it without apology, without dilution, without compromise. Let's be clear. No man can serve two masters. No man can pursue 10 goals and achieve them all. The world doesn't respond to intention. It responds to intensity. And intensity is only possible when energy is concentrated. Just as the sun's light, when focused through a lens, becomes fire, your talents, your resources, your energy, when aligned with one mission, become unstoppable. But here is where many fail. They fear the commitment of focus. They say, "What if I choose wrong?" So they hesitate, they hedge, they scatter their attention in hopes that something will stick. But nothing sticks, nothing grows, because nothing was nurtured long enough to bloom. Understand this, the fear of choosing the wrong path is the fastest way to guarantee you never find the right one. To succeed, you must decide, not lightly, not half-heartedly. You must choose your direction with full conviction. And once chosen, you must walk as though it is already yours. That is the discipline of focus. Not just choosing once, but re-choosing every day, every hour, every moment. Because life will test you. It will throw distractions, detours, and delays in your path. But if you hold the vision firm, if you refuse to be moved, life eventually moves around you. The man who holds a clear image in his mind, unshaken, undiluted, is the man who becomes magnetic. People begin to notice. Opportunities begin to emerge. The world, sensing your clarity, begins to organize itself around it. But don't confuse focus with rigidity. This isn't about stubbornness. This is about precision. It's about knowing what matters and refusing to entertain what doesn't. The man who is focused doesn't chase every shiny object. He doesn't waste energy on opinions, gossip, or envy. He is too busy building, too invested in his mission to be distracted by noise. His mind is a fortress, his schedule a weapon, his energy a resource too valuable to be spilled on things that do not serve the goal. And this is why he rises, not because of luck, not because of genius, but because of ruthless clarity, the kind that cuts through excuses and carves a path where there was none before. Let me tell you what happens when you focus your mind with this level of precision. Time slows down. You begin to notice things others miss. You move with intention. You learn faster. You recover quicker. You begin to make compound progress, not because you are doing more, but because you are doing less with more intensity. Focus multiplies force, and over time that force becomes influence. The focused man becomes a leader, not by demand, but by gravity. People follow those who know where they're going. And the man with unwavering focus becomes a lighthouse in a fog of distraction. I want you to take this seriously. If you do nothing else this week, do this. Decide what matters. Choose one thing, one goal, one identity, and give it your full attention. Write it down, speak it aloud, and every day measure your choices against it. If it moves you forward, do it. If it doesn't, eliminate it. That's the path. That's the formula. That's how mountains are moved. One deliberate, focused step at a time. And if you stay on this path long enough, you will look back one day and realize you have become the man others come to for direction. Not because you tried to lead, but because you mastered the art of walking forward. Understand this. Focus is not a trait. It's a habit. It's a choice made in small moments. When your phone pings, when doubt creeps in, when opportunity whispers, what about this? You must choose again, and again, and again, until your mind knows the pattern, until your body follows without hesitation, until you have rewired yourself for execution. This is not about working harder. This is about working smarter, deeper, and longer in the same direction. And in doing so, building something so powerful, so real, that no one can take it from you. So now I want you to declare this fourth law, lock it in. Comment it below so it becomes part of your identity. I am focused, I move in one direction, nothing can distract me. Say it aloud, own it, and then live it. Because the moment you align your mind, your time, and your energy with one clear objective, you will begin to see just how quickly life can transform. Not because the world changes, but because you have. In the next part, we'll go even deeper. We'll talk about the power of internal standards, the invisible rules you set for yourself that determine your results before anyone else has a say. Because once your focus is clear, your standards must rise to meet it. But for now, simplify, cut the noise, clarify the goal, and walk in one direction with your whole heart. That is how kings are built. That is how legacies are formed. And it all begins with focus. Success in its highest form is not a race to the top. It is a return to alignment. It is not measured merely by numbers, accolades, or applause, but by the depth of peace a man feels when his actions, thoughts, and purpose all move in the same direction. Most people think success is about addition, adding more money, more accomplishments, more praise, but the fifth law of lasting success reveals a deeper truth. Success is subtraction. It is the removal of distraction, the elimination of noise, the cutting away of everything that is not essential. The man who climbs the mountain fastest is not the one with the most tools, but the one who carries the least weight. He has shed what no longer serves him. He travels light and moves with speed. We live in a world of constant input. Screens flash, notifications pull us, options multiply. And in the middle of it all, our clarity begins to drown. We tell ourselves we are busy, when in reality, we are scattered. We wear multitasking as a badge of honor. But the truth is that divided attention produces diluted results. The great achievers are not just focused, they are ruthless in their focus. They say no more than they say yes. They do less but better, and in that subtraction, they gain time, energy, and precision. The man who masters subtraction creates room for power, because clarity does not come from adding more. It comes from choosing less. So ask yourself now, what are you holding on to that is costing you speed? What habits, what relationships, what commitments no longer serve the future you are building? Be honest. Clarity begins with honesty. You cannot evolve while clinging to everything. You cannot reach new heights while protecting every comfort. And you cannot walk into your destiny with your arms full of distraction. You must decide what matters most and let the rest go. This is not deprivation. This is liberation. When you remove the unnecessary, the essential becomes powerful. When you clear the noise, the signal becomes undeniable. Let me offer you an example. A man had a schedule so packed with tasks that he barely had time to think. He woke up anxious, went to bed restless. From the outside, it looked like he was accomplishing a lot. But on the inside, he was drowning in detail. One day, he sat down and made 2 lists. One list had everything he was doing. The second list had only what truly mattered. What created results? What aligned with his vision? Then he did the hard thing. He cut the rest. Meetings, projects, people, all of it. And what happened next was extraordinary. His energy returned. His focus sharpened. His results multiplied. Why? Because he made room for mastery. And mastery only grows in space. You don't need to be everything. You need to be effective. You don't need to do it all. You need to do what moves the needle. And that begins with subtraction. Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. The clearer your life, the stronger your energy. The cleaner your habits, the greater your power. The more intentional your surroundings, the more peaceful your mind. This is not a suggestion, it is a principle. And when you violate it, you pay in stress, fatigue, and failure. But when you honor it, you begin to rise without resistance. Now let's make this actionable. Set aside 30 minutes this week. Sit down in silence. Look at your calendar, your commitments, your habits. For each one, ask, does this bring me closer to who I am becoming? If yes, keep it. If not, remove it. If you're not ready to remove it, limit it. Create space. Protect your attention like gold, because it is. You only get so much each day. Spend it wisely, and once you've cleared that space, protect it. Say no without apology. Set boundaries without guilt, and use that new space to deepen what matters. Your work, your health, your relationships, your vision. The world will not applaud your subtraction. It will beg for your attention. It will offer more and more ways to be distracted. But that's the test. The stronger your clarity, the less temptation you feel. The man of vision does not chase novelty. He chases alignment. He does not spread himself thin. He builds deep roots. And those roots create a foundation no storm can shake. Simplicity is not weakness, it is strategy. It is the mark of someone who has chosen mastery over mediocrity. Someone who no longer needs to prove anything to anyone because his life already speaks for itself. And when you begin to live this way, something powerful happens. You begin to feel lighter, quieter, more connected. You no longer react to every ping or pull. You move with calm certainty. You do fewer things, but you do them well. You no longer feel behind, because you are exactly where you are meant to be. And from that place of alignment, power rises. People will ask how you stay so focused, how you stay so clear. And the answer will be simple: you removed what wasn't yours. You stopped carrying what wasn't aligned. You decided to build a life on purpose, not pressure. So now I ask you to claim this law, comment it below, declare it, and make it your own. I remove what doesn't serve me. I protect my focus. I rise with clarity. These are not just words. This is a code that will separate you from the distracted and place you among the disciplined. A code that will clear your path and sharpen your stride. Let it guide you this week. Let it influence your decisions. Let it shape your schedule. Because the world may be loud, but your clarity can be louder. As we continue on this journey together, remember this: every time you say no to what isn't aligned, you say yes to what is. Every time you remove the excess, you create room for excellence. This is the quiet revolution, the one no one sees but everyone feels, and you are now part of it. You are not just chasing success, you are carving space for it. You are not just doing more, you are becoming more. And that difference, though invisible at first, will echo through every result you create from this moment forward. There is a seventh principle, and it is the one quietly governing everything else you've heard so far. It is the foundation beneath your focus, your service, your standards, and your systems. That principle is self-image, because no matter how hard you work, no matter how sharp your strategy or disciplined your habits, you will never rise above the identity you hold in your own mind. The image you carry of yourself, your inner reputation, is the ceiling of your results. It determines what you accept, what you attract, what you pursue, and most dangerously, what you sabotage. If you see yourself as average, you will unconsciously reject anything extraordinary. If you see yourself as small, you will flinch in the presence of opportunity. And if you see yourself as unworthy, no amount of external success will feel like it belongs to you. You will find a way to lose it. Because self-image is not just how you see yourself, it's how you allow the world to treat you. Understand this: the way others see you is a reflection of the way you see yourself. You train people how to treat you by the way you treat yourself. If you carry yourself like someone who is valuable, people will feel it before you say a word. If you speak like someone with vision and clarity, people will listen even if they don't know why. But if you move through life second-guessing yourself, apologizing for your existence, asking for permission, you will attract a life that mirrors that hesitation. Because energy does not lie, and your self-image is the filter through which every experience, relationship, and opportunity must pass. So how is self-image shaped? Not through random chance, not through luck. It is built just like everything else, through repetition, through words, through behavior, through emotion. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, your self-image sharpens. Every time you walk away from what dishonors you, your self-image strengthens. Every time you visualize your future self and move in alignment with that vision, you carve it deeper into your subconscious. Eventually, the image becomes real, not just to you, but to the world. Because the world responds to who you are, not who you wish you were. It reacts to congruence. And when your thoughts, your words, and your actions are aligned, you become magnetic. Let me tell you a story. A young man once wrote down a vision of himself as a speaker, a leader, a person of great discipline and clarity. At the time, he was broke, unknown, doubtful. But every day, he read that vision. He spoke it aloud. He acted as if it were true, not with arrogance, but with calm embodiment. He walked differently, spoke differently, and over time, the world caught up. Not because he forced it, but because he became it. That's the power of identity. It starts as a whisper, then a pattern, then a presence, then a reality, and finally a legacy. Now here's the danger most never see. People are constantly reinforcing the wrong self-image. They say, I'm just lazy, I'm not a morning person. I always screw things up. And they don't realize that every word is a seed. Every repetition is a sculptor's strike against the marble of their identity. And what they repeat, they become. Words matter. Thoughts matter. Emotions matter. Because they shape the image. And the image shapes the life. So if you want to change your world, change the way you see yourself. Not one day. Now, start acting like the person you wish to become. Because that person is not somewhere far off in the future. That person is one disciplined decision away. Here's how you begin. Start by asking this question. What kind of person would naturally achieve the goal I've set? Then build that person, piece by piece, trait by trait, not perfectly, but intentionally. If that person is focused, start protecting your time. If that person is disciplined, start showing up when it's hard. If that person is confident, start speaking with clarity. Eventually, those actions begin to harden into identity. And once they do, the behaviors are no longer effort. They are expression. You're not trying to become someone else. You're expressing who you've already decided to be. I want you to write this down. The life I live is limited only by the image I carry. And that image is mine to sculpt. Not society's, not my past, not my environment, mine. And if you want proof, just look at your own story. Every time you've risen in life, it's because you saw something in yourself no one else did yet. You believed it, you pursued it, and eventually the world believed it too. That pattern has always been true, and it always will be. But now you will use it intentionally. So now it's time to lock in this seventh law. Say it aloud. Plant it deep. Write it in the comments like a personal declaration. I am who I decide to be. My identity shapes my reality. Let the world hear it. But more importantly, let you hear it, because the sound of your own voice declaring truth is the most powerful programming tool you possess. Say it again, every morning, every night, until the old identity is gone, and what's left is someone the world can't ignore. In the next part, we will seal everything you've learned with one final truth, one that binds all the others together and turns your knowledge into a lasting transformation. We'll talk about faithful persistence, how the great ones stay in motion long after the feelings fade. But for now, make this one your mission. Protect your self-image, cultivate it, expand it, because the world you build will never rise higher than the picture you hold in your mind. Change the picture, and everything else follows. There is a sixth principle, a multiplier that turns power into predictability and intensity into outcomes. That principle is systems. Most people live in reaction. They wake up late, scramble through their day, and respond to whatever the world throws at them. But those who rise, those who build lasting empires, operate with a different rhythm. They don't hope to succeed, they engineer success. Not through chaos, but through structure. Through quiet, repeatable systems that make excellence automatic. Let me be clear. You are not what you do once, you are what you repeat. And systems are what determine your repetitions. If your life feels unpredictable, it's because your systems are either absent or broken. But when your systems are right, success becomes inevitable. Not dramatic, not accidental, inevitable. Think of any world-class performer. A surgeon, a writer, an athlete, a leader. What sets them apart isn't raw willpower. It's not luck, it's not intelligence, it's that they've built systems around their strengths and values. Systems for waking up. Systems for learning, systems for creating, systems for recovery. They don't leave results to emotion. They build frameworks that remove friction and amplify clarity. And you can do the same. You must do the same. Because the more chaotic your environment, the more calm and structured your habits must become. That's how you dominate the day. Not by doing more, but by doing what matters most automatically. Here's the uncomfortable truth. If you don't design your systems, your default habits will. And your default habits are built on survival, not success. Your default habits will choose comfort over growth, noise over focus, short-term pleasure over long-term power. And unless you intervene, unless you deliberately shape your daily structures, you will repeat yesterday's results again and again, no matter how badly you want to change. Wanting is not enough. Wanting is weak without structure. But structure is strength, and structure is built through systems. Let's make this practical. A system is any process you can rely on to consistently move you forward. It's a rhythm, a loop, a ritual. For example, Instead of saying, "I'll try to eat better," you create a system. Every Sunday, you prep your meals for the week. Instead of saying, "I want to write more," you build a system. 1 hour each morning before checking your phone. Systems take the decision-making out of success. They free your mind for creation and problem-solving by eliminating the clutter of constant choices. Most people drown in choice. The elite simplify. They automate what doesn't require soul, and they pour their soul into what moves the needle. Think of systems as the skeleton beneath the skin of your life. Without them, everything collapses under pressure. But with them, you stand tall, no matter what chaos comes. And the beauty is, systems compound. What begins as a simple routine becomes a fortress over time. The man who builds strong systems eventually finds that his life begins to flow, not because it's easy, but because it's aligned. He doesn't have to fight his habits anymore. His habits now fight for him. But building systems takes effort. At first, it feels rigid, inconvenient, even boring. But that discomfort is the price of freedom. Because freedom doesn't come from doing whatever you want, whenever you want. Freedom comes from building a life so well designed that what you want becomes your default. It becomes your baseline, your norm. The person you admire most doesn't rely on motivation. He relies on patterns. Systems are the secret behind the calm confidence you see in those who are truly great. They don't perform because they feel inspired. They perform because they've made greatness routine. Let me give you a challenge. Design one system this week. Just one. Choose a part of your life where you want more control. Your health, your learning, your finances, your mindset, and create a simple process around it. A trigger, a routine, a reward. Then follow it for 7 days, no breaks, no excuses, and watch how quickly things begin to change. The power of systems is not in their complexity, it's in their consistency. One simple loop, repeated daily, can outperform 100 bursts of effort fueled by emotion. Now here's the final shift. Stop trying to be the most motivated person in the room. Be the most prepared, be the most structured, be the most systematic. Let others wait for inspiration. You don't need it. You have a blueprint. And once your systems are aligned with your identity, you become immune to chaos. You can't be thrown off track because the track is built into your day. This is where true confidence comes from. Not from hype, but from precision, from knowing your day is not a gamble. It's a guarantee. And when you live that way long enough, success stops being a goal. It becomes your new normal. So now I want you to lock this 6th law into your identity. Say it aloud. Write it in the comments. Let it mark the beginning of a new chapter. I design systems that guarantee my success. I build, I repeat, I rise. Say it until it becomes truth. Because it is. The man with strong systems does not need to hope. He executes. He builds the foundation once, and then climbs it again and again. And that climb, quiet, structured, consistent, is what separates the legends from the wanderers. In the next part, we'll go even deeper into the inner world. We'll talk about self-image, how the way you see yourself determines what you allow yourself to experience. Because once your systems are built, your self-concept must expand to match them. But for now, make this your mission. One system, one pattern. One repeatable process that makes success inevitable. Because when systems meet standards and those standards are protected by focus, contribution, and consistency, you don't chase success. You become it. There is an 8th and final law that binds everything we've uncovered together. A truth so simple that most overlook it, and so powerful that those who live by it become unstoppable. That law is faithful persistence. The quiet, daily refusal to quit. The ability to keep moving forward long after the excitement has faded, long after the applause has stopped, long after the results have delayed. Every master, every builder, every legend you admire, they all share this trait. They keep showing up. Not because it's always easy, not because it's always fun, but because they've made a vow to themselves. I will not stop until the work is done. That is what faithful persistence means. It's not blind repetition. It's not stubbornness. It is steady, focused movement in the direction of a chosen vision, no matter how long it takes, no matter how hard it gets. This is the final key, because without persistence, all other laws fail. Focus without follow-through is wasted energy. High standards without consistency lead to frustration. Identity without action becomes fantasy. Systems without repetition remain theory. And so we come to this final truth. You must endure. Not for a moment, not for a season, but as a way of life. The man who outlasts everyone is the man who owns the prize. Not because he's better, but because he's still standing. While others fall, complain, blame, or abandon ship, he remains. That's the difference. That's what builds empires. Not one massive decision, but 1,000 quiet ones. Every morning, every night, choosing again, acting again, walking again, no matter how you feel. Now I know what you may be thinking. What if it takes too long? What if I don't see results fast enough? What if I'm tired, uncertain, disappointed? Here's the answer. Keep going. Not recklessly, not blindly, but faithfully. You see, persistence is not about repeating the same mistake. It's about repeating the right principle, the right discipline, the right commitment, and adjusting along the way. Success is not a straight line. It is a winding uphill climb filled with setbacks, detours, and moments of doubt. But here's the difference between those who win and those who watch. The winners keep climbing, even when the path disappears, even when their legs shake, even when the peak is hidden behind clouds of uncertainty. They keep moving, because motion is power. And motion requires faith. Faith that what you are building is real. Faith that your vision is valid. Faith that what you plant will grow, even if the soil looks empty. That's why I say faithful persistence, not just mechanical effort, but belief-backed effort. Your body keeps moving, but your mind believes, your heart believes, and that belief becomes a magnet. Over time, it draws in what you need: resources, people, timing. All of it begins to align, but only if you endure long enough for the alignment to happen. You don't get to pick the hour of harvest, but you do get to stay in the field. And those who stay win. Let's make this clear. If you're in a season right now where the results feel distant, where the progress feels slow, good, you're being tested. And the test is simple: will you keep going? Not just when it's easy, but when it's inconvenient, when no one is clapping, when the finish line is out of sight. That's the real test. And if you pass it, you unlock something most never touch: a level of power, a level of peace, a level of internal certainty that can't be shaken by circumstance. Because you've proven to yourself, I will not quit. I am the kind of man who stays in motion, and that belief alone becomes a weapon the world can't match. Let me give you something practical. Build a persistence ritual, a daily act that symbolizes your refusal to quit. It could be 5 minutes of focused silence, a daily journal, a short declaration, or one consistent task you execute every day without fail, no matter how tired, how busy, how discouraged. This ritual becomes your anchor, your proof, your reminder that quitting is no longer an option. Not because you said so once, but because you've proved it 100 times. And each time your resolve hardens, your energy sharpens. You stop chasing motivation and start embodying discipline. That's what faithful persistence creates. Not just results, but identity. And now I ask you to declare this final law, this closing principle. Say it aloud. Write it below. Make it your oath. I will not quit. I am built to endure. I am faithfully persistent. Say it when you're tired. Say it when the results delay. Say it when you want to shrink. And keep saying it until you believe it. Because once you do, everything changes. You no longer ask, will I succeed? You already know the answer. It's just a matter of time. The man who will not stop cannot lose. That is the law. That is your edge. And that is your legacy in motion. As we close this journey, let's revisit what you've learned. You've claimed your power of thought. You've embraced consistency, contribution, focus, standards, systems, identity, and now persistence. These are not tips, these are laws, immutable, timeless, and undefeated. And when you live by them, not just for a day, not just when it's easy, but for life, you become something rare. You become the exception, the leader, the model others quietly admire, even if they don't say it aloud. Because deep down, they see it, they feel it. You've become someone unshakable. And now I ask one final thing. If this message has served you, if this voice has helped you unlock something deeper, bolder, stronger, then do your part in keeping the light alive. Like this video, share it, leave a comment. Not for numbers, but for the next man who stumbles across this message when he's on the edge. Because you might just save his future, the same way you've started saving yours. And remember, this isn't the end. It's the ignition. The launch. The first chapter of a new standard for how you live, how you think, how you build. Walk now with calm certainty. You don't need permission, you don't need signs, you know who you are. You know what to do. And if you ever forget, come back here. Listen again, speak the laws again, and move. Because action is how the mind remembers, and faithful persistence is how destiny responds. You are now one of the few, so live like it, think like it, build like it, until the world has no choice but to follow.